D-Day thing, which is going to come in the near future, you see. So he had a lot of fight about that, because he wanted Turkey not to be independent. He wanted Turkey on the British side. It was independent. Okay, so now where were we? Oh yes. So therefore, I must in fact tell you the three separate stories, but they follow one another. The first is the occupation of Simi. Simi we occupied, or we were told to occupy Simi, using something like 8 or 9 kikes. And I can show you a picture of a kike. There's a picture of a kike. And these kikes were commanded by naval people who were volunteers from the Navy, and they were very difficult to maneuver because with a single cylinder engine with no reversing, you had to stop that kike by throwing an anchor overboard and holding onto the rope, you see. You have to stop that kike. It was terrible. So we're there. Anyhow. And in each of these kikes for Simi, there were something like 15 of the Greek sacred squadron who were going to annihilate the Germans and take them prisoner and so forth and so on. It didn't work all that well because there were, as I said, 8 or 9 kikes, there were 4 MLs and 5 HD MLs. I'll show you the difference in a few minutes. And each of the MLs had lots of the Greek sacred squadron on them, including my ship. And the particular Greeks on my ship stole things from my wardroom, but that's another matter. I lost a watch. Anyhow, it didn't work all that well because the ML in the next cove to us. We were allocated coves all around Simi. The ML in the cove next to us, one of these Greeks wearing a 40-pound haversack of explosives stepped off the boat into the water. And unfortunately, of course, you can't swim with 40 pounds resting on your back. So he drowned. That was a catastrophe itself. He was the only casualty in this whole operation, this chap that drowned. But the important thing, not so much about his drowning, but the fact remains that 40 pounds of explosives was not available to destroy the rest of the destruction that he was supposed to destroy, you see. So, next morning, for the rest of the night, after we'd landed everyone, we retired, and we tied up on other islands around about. And next morning at 6:30, we steamed into Simi to collect the people we had landed, to collect any prisoners, and to steam out again. And as I was steaming in, since I was the navigating officer of the group, I was in the first ship. Right ahead of us landed a shell from one of the guns at Simi. We discovered later that gun had been fired accidentally by the people who were supposed to be spiking the guns. They didn't spike it gun properly. They let the thing off first and nearly wrote my boat off. Anyhow, fortunately it landed. We collected the prisoners, and we collected the rest of the people, and as we steamed out, what should we meet but 2 provision ships coming into Simi to bring provisions for the garrison at Simi. So we had a fight with these 2 provision ships, and eventually they capitulated, and we captured 2 provision ships. We gave all the provisions to the people in Simi and not to the Germans in Simi, and we used the one ship as a prisoner ship, and all the prisoners we had taken, we put them on this one prisoner ship, except for 4 prisoners which they put on my ship. Now, these 4 prisoners were very truculent and very annoying. And in the books that I quote here, they tell us, they reminded me about the fact that these truculent Nazis, I allowed them onto the upper deck to get away, to get some fresh air. And while they were there, a dory came up to our ship with some Greek citizens. And they had come to thank us for relieving them of the Germans. And as the dory approached, these Nazis on the front, on the forecastle, marched, with Nazi Heil Hitler to the edge and spat on these Greeks. And then they followed up with another exhibit, physical exhibit, where they opened their pants. But what they had forgotten is that you can't do that sort of thing on the windward side of a boat. You see? So when I handed those chaps over to the prison ship, they were very smelly. This is true, it's in the book. The book says so. The book agrees with what I'm saying. Okay, anyhow, it also didn't... the fact that this talk mentions a provision ship reminds me of another provision ship which on an earlier date, we had captured. Now, this provision ship contained boxes of food, boxes of liquor, and boxes of toilet paper. And the boxes of liquor were marked in German for the use of German officers only. The boxes of food were for the garrison itself, and they didn't say what the toilet paper. They didn't say what the toilet paper was for. Anyhow, Gordon Hogg, whom I've already mentioned, thought that we should test the liquor. So we had a party while tied up to the mainland of Turkey. We had a terrific party, tested all the liquor, and then during the party he realized that if you took a toilet roll and threw it, holding one end, you could make a streamer. So before we knew what was happening, the whole of the side of Turkey, all the trees next to next to where we were festooned with white toilet paper. Honestly. Now, at 4 o'clock next morning, I had all the people who had been drinking out cleaning that toilet paper away. And the reason for me doing that is my knowledge of the fact that Churchill was trying to persuade the Turks to be on our side, and I didn't want the British consul to get a letter from the Turks saying this is what you naval people do to Turkey.
She just hung up.
Oh, did she?
Yes, she told them that you'd ring back.
I see. Okay. Anyhow, so Claire has missed the one interesting aspect about the toilet paper.
Tell me.
Well, I'll repeat it then.
Yes.
This provision ship that we collected had boxes of
Yes.
food,
Yes.
boxes of
Liquor.
and boxes of toilet paper. During the course of drinking all the liquor tied up to Turkey, Gordon Hogg threw these toilet paper into the trees as festoons. Now, this is true. It's in the book. And I saw it. I was there. Anyhow, as I said, next morning at 4 o'clock, I had all the people who had been drinking out with long sticks removing the toilet paper, because I didn't want the British consul in Turkey to receive a letter from the Turks saying this is what your British Navy people do, you see. So we stopped that. The other item that I just want to mention is this, that towards the end of September, I think it was, yes, I received a signal to say, please collect a passenger from Antalya, which is there. Please collect a passenger from Antalya, and take that passenger out to one of the 5th destroyer flotillas, which will be out there. And they gave me a position. This passenger, when I got there, was a very attractive lady spy. She told me she had come overland from Germany to Turkey and was now wanting the destroyer to take her back to Britain, not to take her back to Alexandria, and then from Alexandria, where she was going to go back to Britain. But my knowledge of Britain at that stage, I'd never been to Britain at that stage. My knowledge of Britain depended upon the last 4 books of Arthur Mee's Children's Encyclopedia, and speaking to this lady, I was very suspicious that she was in fact a British spy, but a German spy using this method to get to Britain. You see, so I tried to tell the captain of the destroyer that this was my suspicion when I handed her over to him, and he said he'll check as well. But it's interesting, isn't it? This particular flotilla, of course, was Louis Mountbatten's flotilla.
Oh.
Yes. And I discussed that whole thing with Edwina Mountbatten subsequently when I was in hospital, and she visited me in hospital. Edwina, who's Louis Mountbatten's wife. Anyhow, okay. What do you think?
I think it's great.
That's fantastic.
It's a good thing you have had